Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah YAHAWASHI, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah YAHAWASHI. Now, Isaiah 19, it speaks on how YAHAWASHI is making his comeback. But looking at the chapter 19, it has Egypt inserted in there because that's a Greek word. You know, that word comes from the Hebrew, and that landmass was called, or that city, countries, whatever it was Mezarim. It wasn't Egypt. Egypt is a Greek word, but also Egypt stands for bondage. So when you go to Deuteronomy 28, it talks about I will bring you into Egypt again with ships, and the meaning in that verse is bondage. Then when you go to Revelation chapter 11, it talks about the great city Babylon will be spiritually Egypt and Sodom. So Egypt represents Babylon the Great, and it represents bondage. So when you go to Isaiah 19 and say the burden of Egypt, this is chapter 19 verse 1. The burden of Egypt. Behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and he shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And so, in that verse, YAHAWASHI is spoken of. You see, he wasn't going back to that ancient city that they called Egypt, or Mesbium. It was talking about Babylon the Great, America. That's where he's riding back in, riding upon a swift cloud. Now it talks about Egypt in verse 17 and 18 and 20, I'm going to say, and it gives some detail. Now 17 it say, and the land of Judah shall be, say, and the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. Okay? So when you jump down to 18, it say, in that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan, and swear to the Lord of hosts. One shall be called the city of destruction. Okay. Then when you go to 20, it says, and it shall be for a sign and for a witness upon the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt. For they shall cry upon the Lord because of the oppressors, and he shall send them a Savior and a great one, and he shall deliver them. So they want to connect this to the ancient Egypt, but it has nothing to do with ancient Egypt. It's talking about the new Egypt, Babylon the Great, America. And this Savior that is going to get sent is YAHAWASHI. Because in verse 20 it say, and he shall deliver them. That's what YAHAWASHI means. He delivers, or he saves. And it say he's going to be riding on a swift cloud. Now, Yahawashi has talked about in the last couple of chapters. When you go to chapter 63, it talks about Yahawashi. It say, "Who is this that cometh from Edom, with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save." There we go again. Mighty to save. That means he saves or he delivers. That's talking about Yahawashi. Now verse 2 it says, "Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, in thine garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat?" So Isaiah 63 breaking down on what Yahawashi is going to do when he come back. Verse 3 and 63, he say, "I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my remnant." Verse 4, "For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeem is come." So Yahawashi letting you know what he gonna do when he get to Edom. When he get to Edom and Basra, you gonna know that he gonna be staining his clothes with blood by putting judgment on individuals. That's why when you get to, once you get to Isaiah 66:15, it says, "For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind." That's why in Isaiah 19 it talks about he was going to be on a cloud. And this one says that, "and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with the flames of fire." So he's going to come with a chariot, and he's going to be angry and rebuking people. Then in verse 16 it say, "For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many." That's letting you know what. That's why his clothes was gonna be like he been stumping great, because he's gonna be giving judgment to many people for being wicked, and it's gonna be revenge, righteous revenge. Now when you go to Jeremiah chapter 4 verse 7, it say, "The lion is come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make thine land desolate, and thine city shall lie waste without an inhabitant." So he is the destroyer of the Gentiles. You see, they try to act like he coming back for everybody on the earth, and he's going to be destroying these Gentiles. Now when you get to the end of Jeremiah, it talks about pretty much a war going on. And it's going to be more than just YAHAWASHI destroying these individuals, but it breaks down on how he gonna, when he do come back, how and what he gonna do to these nations. When you go to Jeremiah 51:20, it says, "Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the nation, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms." So YAHAWASHI coming back and he destroying kingdoms and nations. It says in 21, it say, "And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider." And so that takes me to YAHAWASHI in Revelation 19, because it's gonna be chariot for chariot when he come according to the Bible. 19, starting at verse 11, it says, "And I saw heaven open up, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in his righteousness he doeth judge and make war." And to show that he's not going to come alone, in verse 14 it say, "And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon the white horse, clothed in fine linen, white and clean." So not only is he coming back to be a destroyer to these nations and breaking these kingdoms into pieces. You go to Revelation 19:19, give you the whole setup. It said, "I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies." So their army is going to be ready, because he said he's coming to judge and make war. They're going to be ready for war too. Going on in 19, it said, "Gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse." That's that white horse. That's that cloud that he was talking about in 19. And them chariots that they were talking about in Isaiah 66. "And against his army." And that's the other chariots that's going to be with him when he come in his chariot. So YAHAWASHI, he's coming to make war. And these dragons with their satellites, they probably already see him out there and know he's on the way. That's why they're going into hyper mode. They hyperventilating and fainting out of fear, like Luke 21 talks about. Men's heart will faint out of fear, seeing what's coming upon the earth. And so that's how he's coming on the clouds with great glory, with his chariots. And he's coming soon, because all the signs is lining up. But I'm going to leave it there. All praise to Yahweh Hashem, YAHAWASHI, Hashem Kakadash. Double honor to the elders pushing the truth worldwide. Peace to the elect worldwide. The kingdom is at hand. Shalom.